Before we dive into the show, if you're looking to make some picks on the NFL playoffs, check out Underdog Fantasy's Pick'em game. You just choose higher or lower between 2 to 8 players, and you can win up to 1,000 times your entry. If you click the link in the description and use code RULE, you'll get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. We'll be using Underdog to make some picks throughout the rest of the NFL playoffs, so thank you to them. And they have plenty of other sports on tap as well. So click the link in the description, use our code RULE, and get up to $1,000 bonus cash and a free pick. On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, we recap the Tennessee game, looked ahead to Texas A&M back at home from Mizzou, and picked the final 9 games of SEC play for the Tigers. Start off with Tennessee recap, just kind of gave our takes on that game. Obviously, Mizzou running into a red-hot shooting Tennessee side. So just kind of gave what we like, what went wrong for Mizzou that kind of cost them in the game, but why we are still very, very high on this team because, you know, they continue to just compete with the best of the best. So really great recap, dove into a bunch of stuff with that game, all the ins and outs you need to know. And then, like I said, gave a little preview to Texas A&M, a little bit more straightforward with them. We know how they play, and just kind of talked about, what Mizzou has to do to try and bounce back with a win at home, keep that undefeated record at home, of course, as well. And then picked our final 9. We gave our record predictions for the last 9 games of SEC play. Went through them one by one, just gave a winner or loss, gave some reasoning for those picks as well for the games that we did not pick in Mizzou's favor. So, it should be a fun show. Finished with quick hits, did some Super Bowl picks as well. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy, and talked about Nick Bolton's appearance in the Super Bowl, some other Mizzou happenings as well. Softball starting its season, big TV games for them as well. So great show for you guys to get the weekend started. Look ahead to Texas A&M. And that game. So without further ado, we'll dive right into it. The Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, February 7th, and Mizzou lost Tennessee. I'm quite bummed at the result of this game. More bummed that I had to subject myself to 40 minutes of Tennessee basketball. We got a lot to get into on the show, as mentioned in the intro. First and foremost, we're going to recap this game and talk some Texas A&M. And we're also going to do our picks for the back half of Mizzou's season, because after this game, at the time you're listening to this, Mizzou has played 9 SEC games. They've got 9 left. So we're going to pick the rest of them. Where to start with this? There are a lot of directions we can go. Mizzou lost 85-81 in Knoxville. Honestly, the most fun place to start, guys, that stat I know we talked about it off air. The road team until tonight had won it, 6 times? The last 6 meetings was won by the road team. That was crazy. Mizzou, unfortunately, bucked that trend with the loss on Wednesday night. I want to start with positive, because I've been feeding a lot of negativity, spewing a lot of negativity about Tennessee. I am openly hating of their play style, and it made me angry again. You guys, despite the loss, I have to confess, I feel like I've been watching a couple of these games, whether it's Mississippi State, Tennessee, some of the home ones, obviously Florida, and just kind of waiting for, and I think this is a residual of last year, this Mizzou team to turn into a pumpkin and just, kind of not look at the level of these considered top tier SEC teams. And even though they lost this game by 4 points and it was frustrating at times, we're going to talk about why, I just don't think it's going to happen. This is just a top 15 team in the country. And I think you guys probably accepted that a while ago. And I think I had a realization after this that I had been kind of waiting for that moment. I just don't think it's going to happen. I am confident Mizzou is going to compete in every single game it plays for the remainder of the season. And that is a good feeling. And I want to start with that before I get into what irked me about this game and what continues to irk me about Tennessee. But I don't know. I don't know if you guys feel the same way or maybe have felt that already. And maybe I'm late to the party here, but I had been kind of waiting for that moment. I thought it would kind of come in this run of 3 games, which they finished with Texas A&M. I don't think I'm going to see it. I don't think we're going to see it. I think this is a Mizzou team that is just damn competitive and really, really talented. And despite some flaws in some games, just is able to stay in it against whoever they play, whatever style they play. And it's great to see. So that is where I will start.
Agreed, Knowlton. Quite honestly, I mean, if you had told me that Missouri came into this game again at Tennessee, a Tennessee team that got Ziegler and Igor Milicic back after not having them and holding Florida to 44 just last Saturday. If you had told me Missouri had scored 81 and only turned the ball over 3 times against them, I'd have assumed we'd be sitting here talking about whether Missouri could win the SEC. Like, genuinely, that's what I would have thought. But unfortunately, Tennessee just did something they hadn't done all year. They came into this game shooting 33% from deep. They shot 66% against Missouri. And that really was just kind of the one difference. It happens. Good teams are sometimes going to just run into a team that is red hot from shooting. And Tennessee, obviously, is a very good team as well. I know Knowlton may not agree with that, but I do think Tennessee is a very good team. Certainly, Missouri had them on the ropes. They were up 11 in the second half. They could have rolled over and died. I think Tennessee got this lead all the way up to 14 late in the game, but Missouri battled back, kind of made it close again. To me, it never felt like they were really within striking distance. Once Tennessee just kind of, I think Ziegler just like nailed 3 3-pointers in like 2 minutes, it felt like. And that's kind of what felt like the difference. But I kind of agree with you, Knowlton. I just don't think there's going to be a game where this team really kind of just totally prolapses and dies on the court in a game. I mean, they just had, in this game, you had Ant, Trent Pierce, and Mark Mitchell, 3 of your starters combined for 1 made bucket, and they still were within 4. It was just a tough ending because Tennessee had its best offensive game of the season, their best offensive half of this season in the second half by a mile. It happens. I don't feel any worse. In fact, I feel quite a bit better still after this game about Missouri's chances going forward.
Hey, there might be a world where this team is 21-1. I think that is a safe thing to say. There's only been really one game where they came in and that they were going to lose that game, and that was Auburn on the road. Missouri's played close. They've been beating teams on the road. They've been up against teams on the road. You throw Tennessee, Memphis into those categories, and Texas as well, losing those games at the end. But I think everyone kind of, realizes that Missouri is a team that's going to compete in the tournament and is going to probably get pretty far, depending on who they're matched up against. And I totally agree with you, Jack. I think that is definitely what the calling card for Missouri this year is, a very gritty team and not going to really lose this one. And you talk about 40 minutes of watching Tennessee. It felt like those last 4 minutes where it was 40 plus minutes. It was just one of those things where even with the lead, pulling away in Tennessee, pulling it away, there were still instances where, Missouri didn't play like it was, they were down 10. And I think that's one of the biggest things that Mizzou will kind of carry into this back half of SEC play and then into March and hopefully April for those Missouri fans.
My first mistake was I watched this game in a public setting, which was just not smart for me. I probably got some looks. That last 4 minutes was unbelievable. But yeah, that's just where I'm feeling. I'm glad you guys are kind of on the same page. I love this team, and my frustrations moving forward in this show are directed solely at Tennessee. I mean, and a little bit of what Mizzou did, because obviously a loss is a loss, and we should talk about it. And the place to start, of course, is on the Tennessee side with the shooting. I would like you guys to guess. I wrote it down. What do you guys think Tennessee's highest percentage from 3 was coming into this game in an SEC game? What do you think they shot? Have a guess.
36%.
32.
Okay. They got over 40% twice. They were really good against Mississippi State, 47.6. Their last 3 games, Florida 27.3, Kentucky 18.2, Auburn 35.7. They shot 66.7% from 3 against Missouri. It was pretty unbelievable. And that to me, when you play that good of defense, and Tennessee does, you're not gonna lose to anybody when you shoot that well from 3. And so I think, for you guys, and then the other stat I want to throw in, and I know we have the tweet pulled up about it too. For one individual in particular, this is just absurd. Payton brought him up. Igor Milicic, who came back from injury, or I think he had the flu. He might have had the flu. I think Ziegler was injured. Came back from injury. We found this from Opta stats. Shout out to them. They're a good company. Igor Milicic, the only NBA, WNBA, or Division I men's or women's player this century to have a game with 20+ points, 10+ rebounds, 5+ assists, 4+ blocks, and 2+ steals on 75, 50, and 75 shooting splits. Just a ridiculous stat line as a team, as an individual, and yet Missouri only lost by 4. To you guys, how much of what Tennessee was doing was just a ridiculous surge offensively that just kind of built on itself with momentum versus what could Missouri maybe have done better defensively to try and stop things?
Please, whatever Tennessee fans watch this for whatever reason, do not take this the wrong way. Okay. I have said over and over, I think Tennessee is a very good team. I think defense travels, and Tennessee has the best defense in the nation. That game was entirely just running into a hot shooting night. There was not a thing in the world Missouri could have done differently defensively to slow them down. You know, Dennis Gates even said as much, like, we kind of did what we wanted to defensively. In the first half, it worked. They held Tennessee to 28 points in the entire half. They turned them over, I think, 8 or 9 times. That's maybe the one thing you can point to and say Missouri could have done better in the second half, is maybe they could have forced a few more turnovers. But again, they have Zakai Ziegler back in the fold, who is about as safe a point guard handling the ball as you're going to find for the most part. He has been in college for 3 years, and it's felt like he's been a seasoned vet every single one of them. Or maybe it's 4 now. I don't even know. The guy's been in college for ages. Okay. It's annoying to watch.
Yeah.
But no, I totally, I mean, Ziegler came into this game hurt and shooting 2 of his last 20 from deep. He goes 4 for 4. Milicic just has literally one of the greatest games of all time. I mean, what else there's literally nothing else you can do at a certain point. And look, it's still frustrating. I mean, Missouri has to kind of find a way to get Ziegler off his spot in particular. I mean, 7 for 7 from the free throw line. He had 8 assists, only turned it over twice against that. I mean, Missouri kind of had to do a better job with him, but I mean, there's just not a lot they could do. You just got to tip your cap to Tennessee at a certain point. Missouri went into that game forcing a team, like daring a team that shoots 33% on the year from deep to beat them from deep, and Tennessee did it. Credit to them. They did it. That's just all it is, really. I mean, 66% from deep. It's hard to beat a team on their own floor when they shoot like that, and they have the defense that Tennessee does.
I wanted to, point out maybe some of those things too on just the Missouri side that just weren't going right. And Payton, you mentioned, you pointed out there were 3 guys that got up to 4 fouls in this game, and Anthony Robinson, and it's getting kind of like a frustrating, stretch just for him. It feels like I'm looking back at just these past 4 games. It goes from Texas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and then Tennessee. In that stretch, he has 17 fouls across those 4 games and 19 points.
Yikes.
And I think one of the biggest things, the calling card for Anthony Robinson early on in SEC play, is that he was getting to the line. He got to the line 8 times against LSU, 9 times against Vanderbilt, another 5 against Florida, 4 against Arkansas, 7 against Tennessee, 4 against Ole Miss, and then, I mean, only played 16 plus 6, 20 or 24 minutes. Sorry, I'm not a math major, but yeah, I mean, 24 minutes and he didn't get to the line once. And I think it just kind of shows you, that he just those like little wrinkles, stuff that Anthony Robinson added. I mean, defensively, we talk about it. He's still getting the steals, and he can play kind of some frustrating defense on some guards and poke the ball away. But he added just a little bit of extra shots and points from the line, and you're just not getting it right now. And I think that's one of those things where it's keeping him off the floor. It's keeping him out of those rotations. And only 6 minutes in this game because he got into that early foul trouble. And one of those things too, just kind of like a little bit of sloppy play early on. Mizzou forced a good amount of turnovers in that first half against Tennessee, but it just felt like no one was running a complete offense at the time, and they kind of got some points off those turnovers. But at the same time, it just felt like people were just chucking up shots and hoping things would go in, and it looked like it was a little bit of a crowd at the top of the key at times. And I think just those early little lapses, kind of didn't put you in the best spot for when Tennessee went on kill mode.
Go ahead, Payton.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it. I think Ant has to kind of be a talking point coming out of this game because, like you mentioned, it's been 4 games now of really kind of substandard play. I do think people are being a little too hard on Ant. We have to remember this is still a true sophomore who is the starting point guard in the toughest league in the country by a country mile, who has always been kind of straddling that line between aggressive and reckless. Right now, he's fallen too far on the side of reckless. I think that's totally to be expected from someone that's as young. We have to remember, Ant was not like a 4 or 5-star guy. This is a 3-star that is being developed and just kind of growing in front of our eyes. I do agree with you, Kenny. It's been sloppy, and it does kind of hurt Missouri because to kind of reach their full potential, they don't to play like a top 15 team. They don't necessarily need Ant Robinson to be a Final Four level team, which I think genuinely is kind of the ceiling with this team. They've shown they can do it. I'm comfortable saying at their very, very, very best, they can be a Final Four team. They need Ant to kind of be that pest on defense again. They need him to be that aggressive guy that can get back to the line. I mean, how much of a difference do you think it would have made if Dennis was able to maybe keep Ant on Ziegler throughout that second half? I think it probably, I would dare say it probably, if you get good Ants yesterday, you probably get a win. And I know that's not a super hot take to say that if your point guard that scored 0 points and had 4 fouls played better than that, you probably win a game that you lost by 4. But I do agree with that completely, Kenny. The Ant thing has been kind of a growing problem the last few games, and they got to kind of find a way to get him going.
I will say he was a 4-star on Rivals. He was on 116th.
Oh, he was? Okay.
In the 2023 class. Well, it definitely was a little bit smaller. And you look at that size now, he was 6'2", 150 in high school. So he's definitely gotten bigger. I think at the same time, I think you do have to hold him accountable for it. I understand, he is younger. Maybe the expectations weren't as high this season, but I mean, he's on an SEC team. He's on an SEC team where, he could lose his job at any point if things compound, and it's just something you flush this weekend. I think it's definitely you're going up against another talented team and a ranked team in your own tier, and I think this is your perfect opportunity to just put that all behind you. And I think Missouri's done that well, flushing it, and especially like a midweek loss. They did it, a couple weeks ago, like Peyton Marshall stepped up and talked in that locker room after Texas. Eager to hear if that's something that kind of happened this week as well, if there's some more leaders in the room and, flush all those foul issues and just the turnovers and, other things like that. And really just turn it around against another ranked team like we saw when they did it against Mississippi.
Yeah, I agree with you guys on Ant. I'm glad you guys brought him up. And if there's one coach who I am confident will give him the talking to that Kenny talked about and work him out of this slump, it's Dennis Gates. And, I think he recognizes the potential in Ant. I think it's a good caveat. Like Peyton mentioned, he is a true sophomore, still figuring things out. He's not going to be as consistent as a 5th-year guard. It just is what it is. And, I've watched 5th-year guards in this league go through slumps of their own too. It's just really, really hard to be an elite point guard, especially against a defense like Tennessee plays. But for sure, that's not to let Ant off the hook. It definitely needs to be improved. I mean, yeah, he can't play 6 minutes.
He's a draft prospect. That's even like crazier to say too. I mean, if you told me that last year at this time, I would have said you're a liar. We saw him on a draft tweet. Doesn't mean he's going to go to the draft, but there's definitely scouts looking at him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he has to definitely rise from this. But again, you get that kind of performance from him, which you don't want to continue, and you lost by 4 points. The other thing too, I just will give a quick mention with Peyton, like he said, with the defense. I thought Missouri did do everything they could. I agreed with that. The leading scorer in Tennessee is Chaz Lanier. He had 10 points, I guess they only had 1 turnover. He had 3 fouls. I misread that. But 10 points, he was like their 3rd leading scorer. So I thought they actually did okay against him. He just had these other guys kind of take over. The other thing I want to point out, too, that certainly did not help Missouri, left far too many points at the line against a team that you absolutely cannot do that against. Tennessee does not give you anything easy. Missouri went 19 of 29. That's 65% from the free throw line. In SEC losses, now they've shot, like I said, 65, 70 against Texas and 73 against Auburn. That's a trend that I don't think can continue if you want to keep getting to the line. That was just a quick note I had. Make your damn free throws. They're free.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of when it felt like really like, okay, like Missouri is just not going to come out with this one. Like when Tennessee started sinking 3-ball after 3-ball, like started 7 for 8. And then Tamar Bates, your all world, like 95% free throw shooter, misses the front end of not one, but 2 different 1-and-1s. I mean, that was a tough one. And I'm not going to get mad at Tamar. Tamar was the reason they were even able to kind of crawl back into this one. And I think he was, if you're putting up 22 against this defense, I'm really not going to complain about how you get there for the most part. But that was definitely a big thing. One other thing I think we kind of need to mention is the O boards, particularly in the second half.
I was going to get there.
Yeah, those were pretty killer. Tennessee got a lot. That's maybe another thing if you want to kind of say what could Missouri have done better. I would say find a way to maybe just force a couple more turnovers in the O boards. They've been pretty good on the boards for the most part throughout conference play. I think Josh Gray has really been great for them. He had 10 rebounds in this one, but just a few too many second chance points in the second half for Tennessee.
Yeah, the big thing too, and just those free throws too. All 10 misses came in the second half. Like that's one thing that just really jumped off the page. I mean, that changes the game right there. Other things can happen. The rest of the game could change, but that's really something that sticks out. I got 2 things just on like shot selections too. Tony Perkins, 3 for 3 from deep. Definitely a step in the right direction for him. Offensively with 16 points as the second leading scorer. And then Caleb Grill only took 5 shots in this game. I thought that was a little funny.
Efficient Grill.
Yeah, efficient Grill. I was going back on just like these past couple games. He shot 12 in both Mississippi State and Mississippi. In that Texas performance, definitely was his worst performance in SEC play outside of that Auburn game, which he was just coming back just in that time. But he only took 6 shots and he went 1 for 6. So a little bit, an efficient shooting day for him. It's the most efficient shooting game he's had in SEC play, but only 5 shots. And I thought that was interesting to see, especially when he played 32 minutes.
Yeah, you guys both brought up. Oh, go ahead, Payton.
I was gonna say that's Tennessee. I'm almost certain just made it like, okay, somebody else is gonna beat us. And for a little bit, Marquez Warwick, I mean, credit to him too. He came off the bench in the first half and lit it up early on. And Tony Perkins, like you mentioned, both of them stepped up big time in the first half. But yeah, Caleb Grill, I think, is just, that was Rick Barnes saying somebody else is gonna beat us. Do not let that guy get any shots off.
Yeah,
I want to point out one thing as well. Oh, you got one more thing on Caleb Grill?
No.
Okay, yeah. I want to go back real quick because we brought it up multiple times. That Payton just talked about it with the turnovers, and I wanted to look at the actual splits here too. And I knew that there was a lot more turnovers in the first half for Tennessee. They had 8. The Volunteers had 8 turnovers in that first half. In the second half, they only had 3. And I mentioned too, they got a lot of turnovers. Mizzou forced them. Only scored 3 points off of turnovers in that first half. So it kind of just shows you. It was kind of like a sloppy kind of run of offense, so they couldn't get any points off those.
Turnovers and offensive rebounds I see in the same vein, where if you give a lot of them up, as long as they don't generate points, you can live with them. But if you're a Missouri, a team that gets so many steals, you have to turn that into points against Tennessee. It's similar to free throws. Those are going to be the easiest opportunities you get. Transition, looks at the line, second chances. I agree with Payton that it was far too many against a team like Tennessee. Man, I don't know where the Volunteers just keep finding these bigs. Felix Okpara is scary. 12.6 rebounds, 3 blocks. That dude is terrifying to watch play. Like if you're, watching not him or not his team or not supporting his team. But you guys almost got them all. I wrote down some top performers I wanted to mention. Tony Perkins, 11 points, 4 of 4 shooting, 3 of 3 from 3 in the first half. Like Payton said, finished with 16 points, 5 assists, and no turnovers. I thought Tony Perkins was awesome in this game, especially in the first half. Tamar Bates, like you guys said, doing Tamar Bates things at 22. Caleb Grill, Kenny brought him up. The other 2 I wrote down, I just wanted to shout out another Josh Gray stat line. I think it was 3 points and 10 rebounds. Just Josh Gray.
All
being
from
Josh
the line.
Gray. Yep.
Very Josh Gray stat line.
And then the only other one I had, Marquez Warwick deserved one, which Payton mentioned. And then Jacob Cruz, 8 points, 3 rebounds in 10 minutes. Take it all day long. I'll take that.
Will you take it on 2 for 7 from deep, though? I don't know that I would.
Maybe.
I don't
Maybe.
think I would, to be honest. I think that's a couple too
Mm-mm.
many threes.
Maybe one, two,
Especially
maybe one or
first
two too
half.
many.
Yeah, I think I
First
agree.
half shooting was
I
poor.
will say the Missouri burned the sickest inbounds play I've ever seen, down 7 in this game. The baseball, just the quarterback pass from Caleb Grill, who used to play high school football, by the way. He mentioned it in an interview on the Mizzou Storytellers pod, so maybe that's why he was doing the throw in. Just nailed the pass to, I think it was, I don't even remember who caught it. It might have been Pierce, or no, it was Perkins. And Perkins somehow got it to Cruz on the wing. That was one of Cruz's 2 makes from deep. But yeah, I don't know that I'd take that Jacob Cruz performance if it's 2 for 7 from deep. I think that's a little too inefficient.
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 less. I think this team just shoots a lot of threes. I don't mind him being one of those guys because he can make them. But yeah, that's fair. Yeah, this was a. I don't like Tennessee. I don't like watching them play basketball. They did what they had to do. They literally needed, like Payton said, literally like unprecedented performances from its players, and Mizzou only lost by 4. And I think it has to still be looked at as a positive as we look ahead. Do any of you have any last takeaways? Any lingering thoughts quickly?
I think we covered everything. I said this earlier, in a group chat. If Missouri played like that again against
Get
Tennessee,
that off my screen.
If they played like that again, if they played that game 10 times and Missouri played the exact same way, I think they probably win 7 or 8 of the 10 times if they play like that again. Now, obviously, they wouldn't play like that every time, but I mean, it was a good performance. It's just Tennessee is a top 5 team in the nation for a reason. They answered the bell in a game they massively needed.
Yeah, it was what it was. Yeah, this was annoying as they just kept drilling threes, but I think we covered it all. So we look ahead now. Obviously, we've kind of talked about this 3-game stretch: Mississippi State, Tennessee, and now Texas A&M. Mizzou goes back home for this game, which I think is a relief to some, just to have, you have that undefeated record at home. 2:30 p.m. SEC Network. You can watch that on Saturday. My first thought, I don't love this game happening right after Tennessee. I'm going to use the same logic Payton did when he talked about Mississippi State having to play Alabama right before they played Missouri, and we saw what happened to Mississippi State. Obviously, I think Missouri deserves most of the credit for that. I don't love having to play a team with the kind of grit that Tennessee plays with, and then have to go in and face the best offensive rebounding team in the country, a team that has a long-established identity of grit and, beating you with physicality and getting to the line and doing all this stuff. So that's my first takeaway. Payton brought up the O boards. It's pretty simple. Texas A&M, they have a 42.8% offensive rebounding percentage. That is the best mark in the country. If you do not keep them off the glass, you will lose this game. That is my opening thought. What are you guys thinking about this one upcoming here for Mizzou against A&M?
I feel similarly about A&M, about kind of how you do about Tennessee. I can't stand watching A&M play basketball. It's like my least favorite style in the country.
I also hate it.
I respect Wade Taylor and his 38% shooting from the field, because that guy knows how to get to the line like crazy. You talk about, I mean, Kenny mentioned it earlier, this is a big game, Ant needing to just kind of flush the last 4 games. This is a real damn tough game to do it, because Wade Taylor is a tough guard. I doubt it at this point. I don't think Dennis is going to mess with a good thing. I almost wonder if we see less Ant in this game, just because Dennis kind of maybe wants to do the whole, just take a seat for a lot of the game. Yeah, just watch the game here. Just kind of get yourself reset on the bench. Wade Taylor he's been around this A&M program since we've been in college. He's pretty much Ziegler, but just better at getting to the line. I can't stand them, like you said, because they just get O-board after O-board. If you've watched one Texas A&M game, you've watched them all. They want to go to the line. They're going to try and just beat you on the boards for every single rebound. Buzz Williams wears a suit and he sweats through it every game. This is a tough one because A&M has also just kind of been a bogey team for Missouri. Look, last year they lost every SEC game. Every team was a bogey team for them, but A&M has always just kind of been like, it's just like, even the first year under Gates, the games they played against A&M were not close. It was really ugly both times. So this is a big one. We'll see how they respond. I think someone like Trent Pierce really, I think, needs to kind of, and Mark Mitchell, the bigs in this game, just really need to step up, kind of take pride in getting the boards. I'm not expecting them to win the battle on the boards here, but just make it less of a factor than A&M would like it to be.
I have one quick thing. Texas A, I want to look at the numbers too on this rebounding, but South Carolina might go 0-18. I think is definitely a path. I think maybe South Carolina can edge out a win against Georgia. But Jordan Butler might be the first player ever to go 0-18 or 0-18 back-to-back seasons in conference play with two different teams. But I want to look at just these comparisons in rebounding. And the reason I bring up South Carolina is because Texas A&M played South Carolina in its most recent game. This was kind of an interesting one though, because Texas A&M only out-rebounded South Carolina by 3. Offensively, only 1. But then you look at the Oklahoma game, and this is where you truly see the Texas A&M team
not a good inferior team.
75-68 against Oklahoma. Oklahoma had 19 rebounds, 2 offensive. Texas A&M had 47 rebounds, 21 offensive. And you look at this Texas game, it was, in Texas A&M was in the driver's seat through the first half, and then got outscored 45-26 in the second half and lost on a buzzer beater, 70-69. In this game, Texas had 27 rebounds, 6 offensive, and Texas A&M had 43 rebounds and 18 offensive rebounds.
Oh God!
And that just really shows you. I mean, no matter what the game comes down to final score wise, Texas A&M could out rebound Mizzou by 15 in this one, and there's still an opportunity for Mizzou to come out with a win just because you've seen kind of poor shooting performances from Texas A&M in these past couple of games.
Can I point to one while you're clicking on games?
Yeah.
Do Alabama at home.
While you're looking at that, I'll also throw out there like that Texas A&M Texas one is like bone chilling for Mizzou because I mean Texas out rebounded Mizzou pretty badly.
That Alabama game, Alabama out rebounded Texas A&M on the O boards 24-23, and in total rebounds 54-46.
That's all it takes.
Boards.
That's all it takes.
And won by 6.
Many.
That's all it takes. Missouri can do that. Like I think there is a formula there. You're gonna have to make your free throws too. I think both those things are gonna have to be huge and productive for Missouri to win that game. But I think I agree. I mean, man, I should have known this stretch of Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Texas A&M was gonna break me mentally. No matter how the results went, just because so much sicko basketball being played from those opponents. But I don't know. I'm feeling okay. I'm excited that it's at home for Mizzou. I've kind of talked, in a few shows about how I want them to kind of keep that undefeated record at home, really try and make that a fortress. So I think they'll take a lot of pride. The fans will be rocking after 2 road games to come back and watch them in Mizzou Arena. So we'll see. That is 2:30 on SEC Network, and we're going to predict it. Because before we go to quick hits, we're going to predict the last 9 games of Mizzou's schedule. So like I said at the top, they're halfway through. We're going to do the other 9. I didn't ask you guys this beforehand. Would you like me to go Rich Eisen style and we can do like Payton first and then Kenny and we can just rattle them off and I can go game by game? Or would you rather go one at a time and explain your losses?
I think we should go Texas A&M and then Payton and I go WL, WL, WL.
Yeah.
And then we go back at least maybe like 1 or 2 games and say why we thought those would be losses.
let's do Rich Eisen style all the way through and then we can explain the L's. How about that?
Yeah,
that's fine.
Okay. All right. I will do that. I am on Texas A&M schedule, so I have to click to Mizzou's. All right. Texas A&M, 2:30 p.m. SEC Network, February 8th. Payton, go first and then Kenny.
I'm going to do what it goes against my better judgment.
You don't even understand how this works.
I'm going to say W.
W.
I've never watched how Rich Eisen does it.
Oklahoma, 8 p.m. SEC Network on the 12th of February at home.
W.
He hasn't watched it. At Georgia, February 15th, 2:30 p.m. again on SEC Network.
W.
W.
All right, that's 3 straight wins. They go back home to Columbia versus number 3 Alabama, February 19th, 8 p.m. SEC Network.
L.
L.
First L in the last 9 games. At Arkansas, the return fixture of this game, February 22nd, 7 p.m. in Bud Walton Arena.
W.
L.
L for Kenny. At home against South Carolina. I assume this is 2 W's if you think the Gamecocks are going 0-18.
W.
All right, we'll go fast through that one. At Vanderbilt, March 1st, 5 p.m., tricky one in Nashville.
L.
W.
L from Payton, W from Kenny. Continuing on the road at Oklahoma, second game in that series, March 5th, 7 p.m.
W.
W.
And then finishing the season, home against Kentucky, 11 a.m. on March 8th.
W.
W.
W. Okay. So if I remember correctly, let's start. We'll go back from in reverse order. Payton, you said an L at Vandy. That's where you guys differed.
I did.
Explain.
It's a really sneaky, tough place to play, as it turns out. I really am a big fan of Vanderbilt. I think they're a damn good team. I see Missouri dropping one that people are going to look at and go, why would they drop that? I think they drop one of Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, or Kentucky. Even like those last 3, like at Oklahoma, not the home one versus Oklahoma. I think they drop one of those last 3.
Okay, and then Kenny, you said L at Arkansas. What do you like about the Cal squad?
Missouri hasn't lost back-to-back games this season, so it is it's a tough thing to predict and a tough thing to say. Just kind of how this team has been pretty resilient, and with Peyton and I both picking losses against Alabama, you're not truly expecting it. But Arkansas is playing better games at home, defeating Texas 78-70. Of course, they went on the road, both these back-to-back road games against Texas and Kentucky, winning on the road. They did have a loss against Oklahoma, but it is a team that's playing better. And I think you're going to get into a stretch where maybe, there is a tight loss that sneaks into that schedule. And then you go out those next 4 games and get a better seed in the SEC tournament and win all 4. And so I think that is one of those things where not necessarily a wake-up call, but it is a game that I'm kind of just thinking that maybe a loss gets thrown in there.
Okay. And then you guys both said the L at Bama. So I believe that has you both have them going 7-2 with that second loss, Peyton to Vandy, Kenny to Arkansas. I am also, Peyton, do you have something? You want to flip?
That means we have them going 14-4 in SEC play. And
correct.
13-5. And I don't know if I believe they'll get that now that I think about it, but whatever.
I am actually going to agree with you guys. However, I'm going to agree with one of you partially. I actually think they're going to lose Texas A&M. I think they're going to lose to Vanderbilt. I think Peyton's spot on there. And I think they're going to beat Bama. And that's where I differ.
I so do not see them beating Bama. I think it's Auburn in the SEC. You go a rung down, it's Alabama. Then you go a rung down, it's everyone else.
I don't disagree. I think they can play at the level of Alabama. I think there is things they can do to muck that game up at home. So I'm gonna be different and bold, just like I did in football. Which look how that paid off for me. So there you go. Now, granted, Brady Cook was hypothetically healthy when we did that exercise. All right, there you go. There's our predictions. So we got 7-2, still high on the Tigers. As we continue on in SEC play, they start that run with Texas A&M at home on SEC Network. You know what? The one thing I will say, and then we'll go to quick hits, could be a lot worse schedule-wise. There are some teams that have some gauntlets in this league to end the year. I'm kind of glad Missouri doesn't have that. There's a good amount of road games, and you can lose to anyone on any given night, but on paper, could be a lot worse with how you finish the season. That's my last thought. Good recap, boys. Let's finish the show with quick hits. Okay, quick hits time. We'll finish out the show. We'll start with Jersey of the Week for quick hits, as per usual on Friday's show. Kenny, what's your Jersey of the Week, my good sir?
No free ads, but is it Joe Mockins? Is that
Joe Mawkins?
Payton?
Yep.
Yeah, Joe Mawkins.
think so,
Nissan in Columbia, Missouri, named former Missouri defensive tackle Jaden Jernigan the January top sales consultant. I thought this was a fun thing. Even Jaden Jernigan posted it. Got a couple of replies from Missouri fans and a good amount of interactions. So congrats to him for continuing on in the workforce beyond football.
Posting it with the STP is so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. I love that he still does STP for everyday life.
If he's living STP, those other sales consultants are cooked. That's a different level of intensity that he's taking.
No free ads.
Congrats to Jaden Jernigan. No free ads. Payton, your jersey of the week.
My jersey of the week is going to be Dennis Gates. If you're watching on the YouTube, you can see him in his lovely Cal uni with hair. He is my jersey of the week because his mentor, who I don't know if you guys know this, but he used to coach under Leonard Hamilton. Oh my gosh, did everybody know that? I'm glad everybody knows that now because clearly you didn't before. Leonard Hamilton, the I would say legendary for Florida State. I mean, he's been there since 2002, I think. He's retiring at the season's end. He's calling it quits. Kind of the last member of that proverbial old guard in the ACC, kind of stepping aside there. God, we have lost a lot of great coaches from that conference in the last 5 years.
Look at all the turning
but yeah, Dennis Gates' mentor stepping down at Florida State. And yes, everybody was a little worried that Dennis would maybe consider that job, but most people, a lot of Florida State people agree, like Dennis Gates has no real reason to want that job. Missouri, like a lot of people, it's kind of unanimous how many people agree. Like Missouri kind of is a better job than Florida State in basketball right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the SEC is miles better than the ACC. The ACC is terrible.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be really cool if Conzo Martin went to Miami and replaced Jim Larrañaga, and then you had Dennis Gates replace Leonard Hamilton?
That game would be box office. I think they should play that game at Mizzou Arena, actually. Miami versus Florida State from Mizzou Arena. Just the
former Missouri Bowl.
The battle of the former Missouri.
Where's Frank hate that? He's at Texas. Throw Texas in there. He's an assistant at Texas.
There you go. My jersey of the week, I got to give it to Nick Bolton. This is the last show we'll do before the Super Bowl, and we're going to make some Super Bowl picks presented by Underdog Fantasy in a second. But I do want to shout out this stat because when I was picking my jersey, I saw this kind of cool stat. From the 33rd team is every player with at least 550 or more tackles, 35 or more tackles for loss in their first seasons in the league since 2000. The list is Luke Kuechly, Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, Levante David, and Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton, never been an All-Pro, never been to a Pro Bowl, which is in his first 4 seasons.
You know why that is? Why that is, Jack?
Why is that, Payton?
Anti-Mizzou bias.
Correct. Correct.
I'm very surprised by the Pro Bowl one.
Yeah.
You would think he would have gotten one, well, I guess he wouldn't even be able to go because they're in the Super Bowl every damn year.
That's true.
Yeah, you'd still get the accolade, though.
You still get it.
I guess that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would have guessed one is rookie year, but
with how the Pro Bowl is now too, you'd think they'd just be dishing those invites out. But yeah, he's never been to a Pro Bowl, but he's on good track for some great linebackers. And with that, I figured let's make some Super Bowl picks. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy. For these, you can go over there, use our code RULE. And I'm doing a Bolton pick. I'm going higher than 8.5 tackles on Underdog in the Super Bowl. Total tackles. So not solo, just to clarify. Hopefully he has a big game. Hopefully he has a scoop and score. Another one as well. That was so electric when he did that against the Eagles the first time. So there you go.
This drill video again.
Yeah, Missouri will show him doing it in practice. So there you go. Payton, Kenny, what are your picks for the Super Bowl here?
I'm going lower on Travis Kelce, 5.5 receptions. Why, you might ask? Because Travis Kelce, I believe is 3 receptions short of most receptions in the Super Bowl. I think they get him to 4, and then they actually try to win that game.
Just right away.
Yeah, they get them 4 in 2 drives, and then that's it.
Shameless stat padding in the Super Bowl is crazy, but fair enough. It's 6.5, Payton, so you have some more wiggle room too.
Even better. They'll get them 4 and then stop.
All right, Kenny.
I'm going to take Noah Gray. higher than 0.5 rushing touchdowns plus receiving touchdowns. And the reason I say that is because it kind of goes with what Payton is saying, and they're going to look to Noah Gray a little bit more because he's the one without the supermodel, or no, not supermodel, but famous girlfriend.
This is a well-executed.
And so he had 2 receptions. The
Here.
reason I remember this too is because he had 2 receptions in this past Super Bowl against the 49ers for 22 yards. So I think they're going to up it up a little bit here. Also on ESPN, he has 2 highlights, and they're both at Duke. I thought that was funny.
I do love those players that just they don't get any updates. All right, there you go. Okay, before we do main birds, feel free to throw in a score prediction. Who wins on Sunday?
I think the Chiefs win again. I don't even care to give a score prediction. It just doesn't matter anymore. Like Chiefs are gonna win. They're gonna have the 3-peat. Who cares what the score is?
Chiefs 29, Eagles 27.
Yeah, I'll go 30. No, I'll go 26-20 Chiefs. Yeah, I think they get the 3-peat. They are the new Patriots.
Football is pointless. It's
they are the new.
over.
They are the new Patriots. Hey, Missouri men's basketball, very good team. Anyway,
I like no cap, and he's the main bird.
Speaking of, thank you, Mr. Shawnee. Shawnee's main bird of the week, Kenny. What's your Shawnee's main bird of the week this week?
I hate to put this in a story I wrote recently, but Pete Iglitis, who got an offer from Missouri, I'd been talking to him for a couple times because he had some visits to Mizzou, or he had a visit to Mizzou, and then a coach came to see him. But got offered by Missouri on Wednesday. The story didn't fit in there, but he did get to meet Ryan Day during the contact period, which is a big thing. He's a kid from Ohio, from Columbus. Doesn't have an offer from Ohio State, but Ryan Day still made a stop by. And if you're watching with us on the YouTube, he's wearing a shirt that says Catholics versus Conferences. That is a Notre Dame fan shirt. He grew up a big Notre Dame fan. Got the shirt for his birthday and wore it during Catholic Schools Week. And for those that don't know, it's a big deal for Catholic schools. You don't wear your uniform that week. You're raising a lot of money and doing a lot of things around the school that is just a little bit different. And so he got to wear that. And he told me, he was kind of very blunt about it. He was like, "Oh crap, like Ryan Day is coming. I need to find a hoodie, sweatshirt, something to cover this up." Right. It's like right after he posted this on January 31st. So Ryan Day had already beaten Notre Dame, and he was like, screw it, I'm going to wear it. And so I thought that was a pretty fun story. His connection to a bird is that his high school mascot is an eagle.
That is a great shirt.
That shirt is sick. I love that. I honestly thought it was a dig at Notre Dame because a lot of people get mad at Notre Dame for some reason about not being in a conference, even though it's super cool. But that is a cool shirt.
Yeah, that is a cool shirt.
Can you give me a reason why you don't like that Notre Dame's not in a conference that actually makes sense?
I'm just bitter about stuff.
Little brother syndrome.
Kind of just a hater.
Sorry, Notre Dame is a cool brand that doesn't need a conference.
Yeah. Why should they? Why should they be the only one that doesn't get to be in a conference? It doesn't make sense. It's dumb.
That's not even true. There are other teams that aren't in a conference.
They don't matter. Those teams are nothing.
Pick it up with UConn, dog.
Oh, sorry, Jim Mora. I didn't mean to disrespect you there.
Had a good season.
What's your main bird, Payton? They did.
My main birds. Really, it is just one bird. No, it is 2. Right? No, Caden Green didn't go. He went to Liberty, or he went to Lee Summit North, not Liberty North. So my birds are going to be Caden Green and Ahmad Hardy. They were both named to ESPN's 2025 way too early All-America team. Ahmad Hardy, of course, has the bird connection coming from ULM, the Warhawks. Caden Green does not. He went to Lee Summit North, which is the Broncos. Liberty North is the Eagles. But cool to see. I don't think people realize how good of this ending to the season Caden Green had after kind of dealing with a little bit of an injury and maybe a benching. I don't know what it was really against Alabama, but he played really well at the end of the year. Definitely. I've seen he's on a couple future draft big boards already. So keep an eye out for that. Him and Ahmad Hardy on ESPN's All-American team. I don't know who wrote it, by the way. I'm sorry. I didn't see the article. Just saw the graphic that Mizzou put out.
I think it was the guy who said Missouri was a bubble team.
That guy. I should have done that. That's too late now. That was disrespectful. We should have had a conversation about that in the basketball segment. That was brutal. My main bird of the week is going to be Dick Vitale. I tried really hard to find a better bird connection than just he's called games with birds, but I couldn't find one. He's got nothing. High school, college is nothing, but he's called.
Name one bird game he's called.
Louisville.
that
It's
you
called
know for sure.
Louisville, Kentucky. He definitely did a Louisville, Kentucky game.
You can't name one specific game, though.
Louisville or Duke. Definitely Louisville or Duke. He's done. He's an ACC. It doesn't matter because he's back, and that's the story here. Anyway, Dick Vitale's coming back to broadcasting. He's going to do the Duke Clemson game on Saturday. Has been fighting cancer for the last 3.5 years. I'm very excited to hear Dick Vitale back on the mic. So wanted to give him a shout out. I'm sorry I don't have a better bird connection, but
It's okay.
you know what? I don't care. I don't care.
Found one pretty fast. That was really
Louisville.
really easy to find this bird.
Wait,
connection.
what was it?
So, Jesus, man. Okay. Dick Vitale. Dick Vitale played at It was a coach at Garfield High School from 1963 to 1964.
I didn't check.
And the mascot, the team name was the Boilermakers, or Boilermakers, but the newspaper was the Quill. And what's a quill?
Okay, that's not
that
easy. You made me feel like
it's tail feathers of a bird.
My bad, Jack. I thought that was gonna be.
I thought you were gonna be like his high school was the Eagles. Like I just missed it.
Come on, that was easy. That was a layup.
Jack's
It's not as
The
that
quill.
was not easy. Peyton, thank you for having my back here. You know what,
I
Kenny?
also thought you meant like the
be
literal
quiet with
bird,
your
the
birds. Pipe
quails.
down. Huh?
Go boom.
Go boom. Welcome
Welcome
back,
back,
Dickie V. Very excited to hear him on the call. Best thing you learned, Peyton.
Best thing I learned this week, according to CMV Sports LLC, which I'm assuming is Theo Weiss's agency, he received an invite to the scouting combine. I don't think it was a certainty. I think people were definitely wondering whether he would or not. So that's a good sign. Hopefully a team takes a chance on him in day 3. He has a lot to gain if he can have a decent day of testing there.
I have 1000% used that Theo Weiss image on multiple of the YouTube thumbnails because it's a great photo. That's I don't know why that's my first thought.
What game is that? Is that from Kentucky?
Your guess is as good as mine.
2023 Kentucky is my guess.
Looks like it.
There you go. Yeah, best of luck to Theo Weiss. Looking forward to seeing how he does in the scouting combine.
Yeah,
Kenny.
it definitely is. There's a stripe on the pants. Best thing I learned
don't start that again.
Best thing I learned this week, I think Mizzou Athletics, whoever runs the Twitter account, the X account, the everything app, needs like a shout out. It's getting pretty cool. A lot of these posts. John Rothstein posted this after the Mississippi State win for Missouri by TKO. Mizzou Athletics quoted it with Dennis Gates period, imposing the Missouri period. Of course, John Rothstein ism.
Rothsteinism.
If you didn't know that, but I'm just going through here. I want to see if I can find some other ones. Whoever posts these has been posting some memes recently. I think it just deserves a shout out.
There's the Caleb Grill one. You lived at the same time as Caleb Grill. All the whole Dennis image.
Dennis. Oh yeah. If you're ever sad, just remember the world is 4.54 billion years old, and you somehow managed to exist at the same time as Caleb Grill.
Is he in the Southwell complex in the?
He sure is.
Photo? Wow, look at that. He's in the Southwell complex, posted by Phil Fortaleza, who I believe is the voice of Mizzou, right?
One of them,
yes,
yeah.
PA announcer, yeah.
He's done for the year though. He finished his last game, I believe, against Mississippi.
Oh, did not know that. But there we go. Look at that Southwell complex. Him and Tony Burks, dude. They should have a one-on-one. That's a Columbia College joke for all you that don't get it.
You should have made your best thing you learned, Peyton, the William Woods Columbia rivalry. Big rivalry in the
big one. Can the Cougars pull it out?
What conference are they in? I was trying to remember that earlier.
The American Midwest Conference.
American Midwest Conference. That's so embarrassing. I can't remember that. Yeah, Kenny, I
really annoyed that we're talking this much about Columbia College.
No, we gotta give the Cougars a shout out. Kenny, I appreciated the one they posted today where I think they said that people broke the server watching the cam of the football stadium being built that they posted. They need to put a comment section in that and let people.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
I think that would be funny. Yeah, shout out Mizzou Athletics Twitter.
For one galaxy, we'll power wash this strip of concrete.
Yeah. Can I get Crane in the chat? We got a Crane rolling in. Crane in the chat. Yeah, shout out to Mizzou Athletics. My best thing I learned this week, I figured this was timely. It's Mizzou softball. They released their TV schedule when they're going to kind of be on prime time. Their season also starts tomorrow. I believe they have a doubleheader against Marshall and Northwestern, if my memory serves. But their television schedule, they got some primetime games, some fun ones. I think they're going to be on MLB Network for one of the games.
They are for one of them. I forget the one, but they are on
I think it's against Duke. I think it's the Duke rematch.
Oh, no, not the rematch.
Yeah, I think that one might be on MLB Network. But they got some big games. They play Kansas on ESPNU. That should be really fun. Their series against Texas will be on SEC Network, ESPN2, A&M on ESPN Network, Alabama on SEC Network, and Kentucky on SEC Network. So they got some primetime games. Very excited for the softball season.
It is Duke, February 8th.
Yeah. So that's on Saturday. Tune into that on MLB Network as well.
Noon
This is
Central Time.
I am ready to get hurt again with Mizzou softball in terms of watching them be really good and then break my heart in the NCAA tournament. Softball tournament's so hard to like go to the Final Four in. It's ridiculous.
No show Oklahoma.
Or World Series, rather.
The World Series, sorry.
Consensus top 15 team, and I think they're still like 6th or 7th in the SEC or something like that.
Gauntlet.
Stupid conference, man.
Gauntlet,
Baseball also
gauntlet.
released their schedule as well.
Yes.
Like
It was a cool video. I'll pull that up too, actually.
It was a cool video. They did the old
I didn't
TV.
watch the video. I just saw they announced it, but I did see like, they have like a whole little TV thing. I didn't watch it through though.
Yeah, they did like a little TV like 90s type edition or type video or whatever. Kenny's pulling it up. I was trying to stall while he was. There you go. Sorry for those not watching on the YouTube. This is why you should subscribe.
Most of their games are on SEC Network. I know that much.
The rest will be on the radio.
Ones that are actually televised.
They'll be on the radio. Yeah, it's kind of cool. They like put their broadcast schedule and like skip through it on an old timey TV with the Mizzou with the M hat on top of it. Very cool. All right, that's it. That's all I have. Peyton, do you have a joke for us this week?
Of course I do, Knowlton. This one comes from our favorite CV series, The Today Show. Guys, what type of music do planets enjoy?
Galactic jazz.
And he's got a smile, but I don't know if he has a guess.
Something with a nice ring to it.
That's not bad. But
Is it it's that one song by Train that they like?
Drops
about
to
space.
Jupiter.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like Drops of Jupiter.
Not it.
Yeah.
They like to
What is it?
listen to Neptunes.
okay. All right. I can get behind that. I like space, so I'll embrace that joke. Good job, Peyton. All right, that'll do it. Go enjoy the Texas A&M game as much as you can. I will not be enjoying it, win, lose, or draw for Missouri. I can't stand them. All right, that'll do it for the show. We will be back on Monday recapping that game, looking ahead to basketball stuff. Maybe we'll do a little recap of the softball opener, see how they got off to a strong start to the season. All right, Kenny doesn't look like he's going to put me on the solo screen to wave goodbye, so I'm going to wave goodbye in the try screen. There we go. Bye-bye, everyone.